This is my dad's story. Before I was born, he and a friend owned a ski lodge in Vermont. One New Year's Eve, they were alone. They're just the two of them, snow falling, radio on, waiting for midnight. That's when they saw the light, a blinding flash silent coming from across the frozen lake. Then they heard a child's voice. Help! They saw a small figure standing on the ice. They walked toward it, another flash. The child was gone. Then the friend's scream said he saw a little boy standing in the lodge window. There was no one inside. That night, my dad woke twice, hearing a child laughing somewhere in the house. They left early the next morning. My dad still doesn't know what they saw. But every time he tells the story, he pauses at the same part. The light. I still can't fully explain what happened that night. Honestly, I don't know if anyone could. Even now, thinking about it makes my stomach twist. It was last New Year's Eve, and I was in New York City with my two closest friends, Ryland and Ari. We had started the night at Ryland's apartment with some drinks, just relaxing, letting the year die quietly. Later, we headed to a rooftop party in Williamsburg that one of Ari's co-workers had invited us to. It was lively but sophisticated in that Brooklyn way lights strung above, jazz remixes playing, people laughing with glasses in hand. I was halfway through a conversation with Ryland when I noticed her. A girl standing by herself near the bar. There was something about her, this energy I couldn't describe. Confident yet kind of distant, like she wasn't really there but somehow anchored the space around her. I decided to approach her. My friends, noticing me drift, didn't say anything. They knew this was my thing. Hey, I said. I'm Lucas. She looked at me, smiled lightly and said, I'm Matra, but everyone calls me my tree. That threw me off for a second, but the way she said it, soft, confident, charming, made it impossible not to smile back. She had this presence that made talking feel easy, natural. We hit it off immediately. Conversation flowed effortlessly. She told me about being from San Diego, how she was an artist, a painter. Not just any painter, she said, but someone who used to do graffiti and murals before shifting to more traditional works. She mentioned her cats, Mia and Cosmo, and her dad being a patent layer. Small details, quirky little facts that somehow etched themselves into my memory. Within minutes, she pulled me onto the dance floor. We danced, we laughed. The city lights around us blurred as the bass vibrated under our feet. And then, when midnight struck, we kissed. That was it, the world disappeared. By 12:30, she whispered, Want to get out of here? I nodded. And suddenly, it was just the two of us, riding back to my apartment in the East Village in an Uber, laughing quietly, talking about everything and nothing. I remember the car ride clearly, her hand brushing against mine, her hair falling over her face, the faint smell of the bar clinging to her clothes. She told me I could throw her clothes in the wash if I wanted. She didn't care, I did. We got to my apartment. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a living room, a small kitchen, nothing fancy but warm. We stayed up talking. I learned more about her birthday, April 28th, her best friend from Germany, little quirks, little habits. The night passed slowly, comfortably. At some point, she borrowed a t-shirt from me to sleep in. I remember watching her curl up on the couch and thinking, she feels real, she feels present. Morning came and she was gone. Not just gone, impossible. The door was locked. My apartment only locks from the inside, windows barely open. No secret exit, no note, nothing. The shirt I lent her gone. Her clothes from the dryer gone, it was undeniable. She had slept here, but now she was completely absent. I felt a creeping panic, a sense of disbelief. Did she leave in the middle of the night? Did I imagine the whole thing? I paced the apartment, muttering to myself, trying to piece it together. Every logical explanation fell apart. Nothing made sense. Later that afternoon, on a random impulse, I called my best friend Garrett Guo, originally from Hong Kong. I don't know why. Just this strange, unshakable feeling that I needed to talk to him. He sounded off when he picked up. I asked what was wrong, and then he told me almost the same story. He had met a girl the night before, around 11 o'clock p.m., Hong Kong time. They hit it off, went back to his place, and she left the next morning without a word. No number, no contact, nothing. He was bummed. I laughed nervously and then told him. The exact same thing had happened to me. Then I said her name, Matra. There was a pause. Yes, he said finally. I felt a chill run down my spine. I asked him to describe her. Birthday, check from San Diego? Check. Artist, check cats? Yes, Mia, everything matched, exactly the same girl. We compared every detail we could remember, and it all lined up. Her quirks, her habits, the way she laughed, the way she spoke, uncannily identical. We even had photos of her, the same girl in both sets of photos. But here's the part that makes it impossible. Hong Kong is 13 hours ahead of New York. Garrett met her at 11 o'clock p.m. Hong Kong time. I met her at around 11:30 p.m. New York time. That's roughly a 12-hour difference. A flight from Hong Kong to New York takes at least 15 hours. She couldn't have physically been with both of us. Even if she somehow flew instantly, which is impossible, how did she know Garrett's apartment? How did she know to be at that rooftop party in Williamsburg at the exact moment I approached her? The details, the timing, everything doesn't add up? I've thought about this almost every day since. Some nights, I wake up and imagine her standing there, smiling, just like she did that night. Not malicious, not evil, just impossibly there. A person who shouldn't exist, and yet somehow does, retried rational explanations. Doppelganger? Coincidence? Hallucination? But nothing fits. And the scarier part? There's no trace. We searched for her online. No last name. Just Matra, artist, San Diego. Nothing. It's like she vanished entirely. And the experience. It changed me, not in a dramatic, obvious way. But it made me question reality. It made me second-guess what I see, who I trust, what's real. Because the thing is, that night felt real. Her presence was tangible. Her laughter. Her warmth. The conversation. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a hallucination, and yet she was gone. Every New Year's Eve since, I get this tight knot in my stomach around midnight. Part of me expects her to appear just briefly, just enough to remind me that some things are impossible, but still happen. New Year's Eve is supposed to be about fresh starts, counting down, drinks with friends. That feeling that whatever happened last year is finally behind you. But sometimes, New Year's Eve doesn't mark a beginning. Sometimes it feels like something slips through. I still remember that night like it happened yesterday, even though it was, 6 or 7 years ago now. My life's been messy since then, but some memories, they just don't fade. This is one of them. It was New Year's Eve, and I was driving home from a party with my girlfriend at the time, Duda. I knew it was risky driving after drinking, icy roads, the middle of the night, but there was no other option. The party had been at a friend's apartment. We were late additions, so no couches, no floor space, nothing. The roads were practically empty, which was a relief because the snow from earlier that day had turned everything into ice. I was exhausted, drained from a week that had seemed to last forever, and yet adrenaline and guilt kept me awake behind the wheel. Duda was dozing lightly in the passenger seat, her head leaning against the door, one arm draped over her stomach. I had the heat on full blast and some random rock playlist blasting through the speakers to keep myself awake. I remember looking at her, half asleep, and thinking, I hope we get home safely. We were maybe 10 minutes from her apartment when it happened. And when I say it happened, I mean something that made my blood run ice cold and my heart slam against my chest like it was trying to escape. 1 second, the road ahead was empty. Not a single car, not a single soul in sight. And then, there she was. A woman, standing directly in the middle of the road. Not crossing, not waving, just there, facing us. And my first thought, because your brain sometimes clings to logic in the worst moments, was, is she lost? Is this a joke? And then I saw the knife. It was enormous. One of those kitchen knives, the kind you use to carve a turkey, the kind that looks deadly even when it's just lying on the counter. She held it loosely at her side. The headlights caught her face, and what I saw made my stomach drop. It was twisted, contorted, like she'd been crying, screaming, or both. There was something wrong, something empty behind her eyes, and for a moment, I swear I felt like I was staring into nothingness. I hit the brakes, hard, the tires skidded on the ice. My mind froze. Everything slowed. I didn't think, I didn't plan, I just reacted. I swerved right, trying desperately to avoid her, and she lunged. I heard the impact of a sickening metallic scrape before I even realized what had happened. She had swung the knife at the car as I passed. The vehicle fishtailed, ice stealing every ounce of control from my hands. Duda woke up instantly, screaming, her hands grasping mine, her eyes wide, terrifyingly wide. I gripped the wheel, knuckles white, yelling at myself to do something, anything, but it was too late. The car spun a full 180 and came to a stop facing the direction we had come from, which meant we were facing her again. She was maybe 30 feet away now, limping toward us. Her clothes were ripped, dirty, her hair was matted and wild. She screamed, but it wasn't a word. Just a guttural, animalistic sound like something alive yet not human, and her eyes. Oh God, her eyes, empty, locked on mine. It was like staring at a corpse that had somehow learned to move. Time slowed. My body was frozen, even though my brain screamed at me to move. Duda was screaming, yelling for me to do something. And I couldn't move, I couldn't think. Then something deep and primitive kicked in. Survival, I slammed the gas. The wheels spun helplessly for a second before catching traction. We were moving, I thought we were free. I was wrong. She was on the hood before I could even register the movement. I felt her body slam into the car, the entire vehicle shuddering. One hand gripped the hood, the other drove the knife repeatedly into the windshield. Her screams, or whatever that sound was, filled the car, filling my ears, invading my mind. I started swerving back and forth, panicked. My stomach churned with fear. I could feel her weight sliding across the hood. She didn't let go. She wanted in. She wanted to kill us. I thought I was going to die. The third swerve finally loosened her grip. I watched as she rolled off, crashing onto the ice and sliding into the shoulder. My heart was pounding. I thought maybe it was over. We didn't stop. Duda was shaking, crying, her voice frantic. She told me not to look back, not to stop. And in that moment, I realized she was terrified for herself, but more terrified that I would stop. That I would stop and face what could have been a dead woman. We drove home in silence. The adrenaline was leaving and the guilt was settling in. Part of me wanted to check if she was okay, but another part of me knew there was nothing I could do. We didn't call the cops. We didn't tell anyone. Days later, I checked the local news obsessively. Nothing, no reports, no missing persons, no deaths. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. The guilt didn't go away. The what-ifs haunted me for months. What if I had killed her? What if she had been deranged but still alive? What if she had followed us home? And then there was Duda. 2 days later, she was back to her normal self, planning parties, making calls, laughing. As if none of it had happened. I stared at her, confused, sickened. How could someone just forget that? How could someone not be haunted by almost dying? Or almost killing someone? We broke up a few months later. Not because of that night, but it changed something. It changed how I saw her. It changed how I saw myself. That night made me realize how fragile life is and how quickly it can spiral into something unexplainable. Sometimes, late at night, I imagine her still out there, standing in the dark in the middle of some icy road, and I wonder if anyone else will see her before she disappears again. Even now, when the roads get icy or the night is quiet, I feel my hands tighten on an imaginary wheel, bracing myself for the impossible, and I don't know why it happened. I don't know who she was. I don't know why she disappeared. All I know is that it did, and that's enough to haunt someone for a lifetime.